You got a fast car. Wow, that was a really long and totally unnecessary intro. Hi there, Coach Sage Canaday here with another training talk. Today we're going to talk about running economy or efficiency, essentially. And I've done a couple training talks over the years on this topic. I'll link to my most detailed one up there as well as in the description below. I also did a test where I was in the lab going over my results. Shalea Kipp, Olympian, teammate to Emma Coburn here in Boulder, tested me in the lab at University of Colorado for my running economy numbers or efficiency numbers, and I go into detail on what those numbers are at different pace ranges, going down from about 7-minute mile pace to 6-minute mile pace to 5-minute mile pace, or what is that, anywhere between like 4:30 per kilometer down to 3:07 per kilometer pace. Be quiet, Siri. And so it's an efficiency number. It's an efficiency number, and the analogy we like to make in our the Sage Running Secret ebook, Coach Sandy and I did write an ebook, link to it in the description below, product plug, sagerunning.com. There's a whole chapter called Are You a Mustang or Are You a Prius? And it's an analogy or a comparison of your body to a car, or maybe a monster truck or a Jeep, Hummer, maybe you're a Tesla. And it's the idea that there's an efficiency number, right? To move your body weight a certain distance, let's say a kilometer, 1,000 meters, much like a car has to drive on its fuel economy number or its efficiency, how much gasoline it takes to, miles per gallon is what we say in the US. I'm not sure, is it liters or deciliters per kilometer in other countries? And you've got the engine and the efficiency there, not very efficient internal combustion engines, I will say, but your body's efficiency is a measure, and it could be on how much oxygen it takes to move your body weight a kilometer. But it also could be more metabolic. It could be how many calories it takes, right? How many grams of glycogen did you have to burn? Or how many calories are you burning from your own body fat stores to move a certain distance? And why this is important? This is important because you want to run faster. You want to run faster with less effort. And if you do that, you're going to get a personal best and PR and improve, and it's going to feel great. And you did it with less effort, less pain, so to speak, right? You didn't bonk very hard at the end of a marathon, or you didn't get massively dehydrated, or if you're doing a mile or 5K or something like that, you didn't build up with a bunch of lactic acid and tie up and have the bear jump on your back the last 400 meters, right? So it's the whole idea of improving as a runner, but also increasing, hopefully decreasing the risk for overuse injury as well. And we'll get into the two ways that we could improve running economy or our efficiency based on mechanics, but also internal cellular adaptations, so to speak. And actually, I'll talk about that first. So the first way, this is part one, first way to improve running economy or your efficiency, and this doesn't matter if you're a mountain ultra trail runner or you're the road track runner, is to run more consistently, run more mileage. Oh, they're doing the howl. We do a howl every night here in Colorado at 8 p.m. To build solidarity. So that's what that noise is out there. I like to howl in there too. But anyway, the analogy is you're like a car, right? So, you could be a monster truck, you could be a Prius, you could be a Mustang, you could be a Subaru Forester, right? And each car is kind of different, right? Your weight distribution is a little different. You got different suspension. Maybe your muscles are more or less elastic. The tire selection is important, right? Tires, think of the tires on your car being like the shoes you're wearing, right? One's a little more heavy. It's got more monster truck tires, right? It could be a trail shoe versus a lightweight road racing flat shoe with a carbon fiber in it, right? So that could change your efficiency just by changing shoes, right? If you were running with big heavy lead bricks or ankle weights, you'd be terribly inefficient. If you were running a muddy trail race with road shoes on with no traction, you'd be slipping, sliding all around. You'd be terribly inefficient, right? It would be like if you had a street car trying to go off-road in the derbies, right? Going off on a 4x4 road, it's scraping the bottom, it's spinning its tires. Well, you don't want to be inefficient. You want to increase your efficiency. So, as you increase, maybe it's much like a car, let's say a Prius or a Tesla, that thing could cruise. That thing could cruise, especially on flat pavement, and it's not using up very much energy compared to the Hummer with the monster truck tires. That's really good in the mountains, off trail, in the mud, or in the snow maybe. You need that torque, but on the highway going 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometers per hour, maybe it's not as efficient. It uses up more gas. So that's kind of the whole idea, is you could change by changing shoes, right? I got the Hoka One Bondi on, nice cushioned shoe for banging out road miles and training, but maybe for the race, I switched to a lighter shoe like the Carbon Rocket, right? So, changing shoes is one thing. If we look at the component, though, of, say, your own body weight, right? We're all different. We have, different muscle density, different muscle mass distribution. Maybe our bones are more sturdy and dense so we don't get injured, but they also might weigh a little bit more, right? We might be taller, we might weigh more. Clinically, if a doctor diagnoses you as being overweight, you have excess body fat, right? Excess body fat, maybe you have a couple pounds to lose, you eat some too much ice cream and junk food. If you clean up your diet and get healthy, maybe you decrease your body fat percentage a bit. It is hard to measure at home, but you cleaned up your diet, you lost a couple pounds, all of a sudden you're more efficient, right? Because the running economy equation has your body weight in there. It's an efficiency, and it's easier to move, at a certain extent. If you have excess body fat, so to speak, if you get healthier and you're eating healthier, still fueling yourself well, you have more functional muscle and less excess body fat. That's another way that efficiency could improve as your training improves. And the biggest thing, looking at the cellular level, looking at your muscles, what you don't see maybe is you start running more aerobic base miles, you start increasing your mileage, just more consistent training, even at low intensity, right? Building that aerobic base. You start getting these adaptations. You start burning fat more efficiently as a fuel. You start getting better capillary bed density. That's like the blood flow to your muscles, right? In your legs and all your working muscles, just better blood flow in general. And then the powerhouse of the cell, the mitochondria, you get higher density and size of the mitochondria. Just everything just becomes more efficient. The processing of lactate, burning fat more efficiently as a fuel. You're just your heart's ready for higher heart rate spikes, right? And you're not totally winded when you go out running. So those are big adaptations that happen inside. Now, the other big adaptations that happen are on the outside with things like your running form, the shoe selection component, right? You change your running form and you start engaging your glutes more, or you're just moving more efficiently. You have better hip mobility, better flexibility, more smooth stride, more of a forward lean maybe. You're not thrashing your arms too much, right? You get more aerodynamic. That could also improve your running economy numbers or efficiency quite a bit, right? A change in running form. Maybe your cadence, you had a too slow of a cadence, you're only doing 160 steps a minute. Then you started being able to adapt where you're hitting 170 steps per minute, and it actually increased your efficiency. It increased your running economy. So you could run a marathon on less oxygen, or less usage of oxygen per kilometer, I should say. That's the running economy number, but also at a lower heart rate value, right? And we want to be efficient in long distance races, right? We want to run farther and faster at lower effort levels so we could conserve our lower heart rate values. We don't get as massively dehydrated as fast and overheat. We don't bonk really hard because we ran out of our glycogen and we couldn't eat enough carbs during the race to keep up, right? So these are all good things and good adaptations, and that's what happens. And the reason why that happens, like I said, building the aerobic base, looking at your shoes, but also from the mechanical standpoint, and this will be my final point of the talk, is if you're improving your form and your leg drive or ankle flexion or some aspect of that, there's tons of variables we could get into, but if you're doing that, hopefully you're staying healthy. And if you're staying healthy, you could train more and be consistent, right? That's all about the long-term efficiency. But it's also doing speed work. That's going to be the number one thing. for improving, usually ironing out your form, but improving your efficiency. So if you're an ultra runner, marathon runner, you start doing some tempo runs, or you do some half marathon, 10K pace, lactate threshold training, that's much faster than your ultra pace or marathon pace. That's good efficiency building because you're running at a faster than race pace, faster than your goal race pace, and you're maybe doing it on a flat road or on a track or something like that. It works on that leg turnover, that power, right? The faster paces will iron out your form. And at the more extreme level, we see things like doing hill sprints or strides, right? 4 times 100 meters, pretty fast, getting the fast twitch muscle fibers stimulated, opening up that stride, but also working on a cadence or a turnover that's really high, like 200 steps a minute. So all these things, the speed work is what improves and could boost your running economy really the most. You can't get injured doing it. You can't get injured doing it. And on more extreme ends, we see people doing, some weight stuff, hex bar deadlifts. We do people see doing drills, right? Ballistic, right? Working on those jumps, or working on skipping, bounding, hopping, high knee drills, butt kick drills, right? I touch on those. Those are kind of the icing on the cake. It's more to prevent you from getting injured and also to cue you in on good fast running form. But likewise, if you're a 5K runner, you do 400 meter repeats faster than 5K pace. If you're training for a half marathon, you do some track intervals like kilometer repeats at close to 5K pace. It's a VO2 max stimulus. It gets your heart rate up, you're breathing hard, but it's also a mechanical stimulus. It makes your muscles work at a much faster pace than your goal race pace, so goal race pace feels more comfortable. And when it feels more comfortable, usually you're running a lot smoother and it doesn't feel out of control. You're in control, you've got a smooth stride. That is running efficiency, ladies and gentlemen. And you can measure it, if your tempo run pace improves for a 20-minute tempo run at a lower heart rate, you've improved your economy. Likewise, in the lab, we get measured with how much oxygen we use to move ourselves a kilometer at different paces, or even respiratory exchange ratio, how much CO2 we're breathing out compared to oxygen we're taking in, rough indicator of fat burning ability. Could make you faster, could not, depends on your other nutritional aspects of your ultra. But that's all I got for today. Again, check out that video on running economy. It's even more detailed than this one. I've got a whole playlist on training talks for any service, any distance. Thanks for subscribing on here. Thanks to the Patreon supporters for all making this possible. Hope you're doing well, and stay tuned for more.